Braided fishing line can be a pain to tie a knot, but I'm going to show you the best three. 1, 2, 3. The best three knots for braided line. Braided line is awesome. I love it. You don't want to use it for everything. I'm going to just go ahead and get that out of the way right now. Almost all of my top waters, on my spinning rods, for some applications I'll go straight braid, but for a lot of top water stuff, all of my heavy punching, flipping, that matted grass with the big weights and all that, that's definitely 100% braided line. If I'm going to be tying braided line to a lure, a frog is a really good. This is the Mega Spro. It's the King Daddy Spro, the 90. I've got this just so we can do some things on a larger scale. And this is not braided fishing line. This is just some kind of twine that's pink, and it shows up good against the black background. So I'm going to show you the best three knots that I use. I've got a couple other props here on the table. This is a Sunline X Plasma. It is my favorite braid. I've used a bunch of different ones, and this is by far my favorite. It comes in the green, the light green, lime green, and it comes in the dark green. I use the dark green for the bigger diameters. I use 30 and 50 a lot, and I use the 12 pound on my spinning rods. They have a 16, I use 16 as well. But I've used a bunch of different braids. It's really good. If you have a braid that you're used to, stay with it, unless you're unhappy with it, and then you may want to look somewhere else. You can look at the X Plasma, but we're talking knots specifically for braided line. Number one in my book, it's my friend, should be your friend, could be your friend, the Pelomar knot. I'm going to show you how to tie the Pelomar real quick. All you're going to do is take about a foot or so of line, double it over, and the only kicker to the Pelomar knot, we're going to go through the hook eye. This is a pretend hook eye, and then you're going to do one overhand knot so that that bait goes all the way through there. Get one overhand knot, and you're going to take this loop and pull it all the way around the lure. Now you might have a giant lure, potentially. You might have a giant lure to where you can't get that loop all the way around. That's why we have other choices. That's why there's not only one, there is three. But number one, Pelomar, if you can get that loop around your bait, and then you're going to cinch it down, and you want to just cinch it all the way down just like that, that bad boy is ready to go. And you don't, with braided line, you do not want or need to trim your tag end really, really close. You want to leave that tag end a little, I'd say, a little bit of extra up there. Now on a, smaller, regular, normal line, you're still going to have at least 1/8 of an inch. A little more than 1/8 of an inch is good. It allows for a little bit of fraying, and then that fraying is not going to get down into your knot to where it's going to start unraveling it. And if you really want to get super fancy with it, you're going to have some super glue. You want to have gel. You do not want to have the liquid. The liquid is a mess. It gets all over you, especially when you leave it out in the boat and it gets hot. But you're going to take a little bit of the gel, and then I'm talking, you don't have to put a whole bunch, just a little teeny tiny bloop, just a little teeny tiny bloop on there. And this goes for all of the knots. But you just give that a few seconds. That bad boy will suck right into the braided line, and that thing is rock solid. 90% of the time, I don't put super glue on the knot, but if you're really horsing on something with bigger braid, that super glue is key, and it just completely locks that knot down, and that bad boy is not going anywhere. But that's number one. We're gonna go number one. Pelomar, my friend. I have no idea what that's named after. I think it's a cool name. I like the name. I think Palomar's fun to say. But let's just say we're fishing a lure that is too big to get that loop around with the Pelomar. Let's just say this lure's 10 inches long. It's just not practical to try to tie the Pelomar knot. And we're going to tie they call it the Berkeley Braid knot. That's right, the people at Berkeley. There is the trilene knot, which I'm not sure if anybody's seen. Trilene knot is a very common knot. It's a good knot, very, very strong. But this is it's like a doubled up version of that knot. And the reason that it's doubled up is so there's less slippage. With braided line, I love uni knots. San Diego Jam is the best knot I've ever used for fluorocarbon. It works great for mono. It is not the greatest for braided line because it will slip through. It will slip through, and that's why we're not using that one. But this is called the Berkeley Braid knot, and you're going to double it through just like you were doing with the other knot, the Pelomar. But you're going to come up and make a loop just like that, and you're going to wrap it 8 times. 1, whoa, let's try that again. Slip that in my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to do 6 because this is massive line, and I don't think it would go all the way through. But that is going to just slide down. You're going to hold that loop in at the bottom, and it's going to cinch all the way down just like that. And it's a nice, neat looking knot. And then I'm gonna cut my tags the same way. And it's a nice, neat knot. It's kind of a bigger knot, and it's kind of stiff. That's why I like the Pelomar over this knot. This is a really strong knot. It's a good knot. You're gonna have actually another tag up here at the top part from where you double your line. So you cut that off as well. But that's the Berkeley Braid knot. Good knot. Number 2. You can throw some super glue on there if you want to, for safe measure. And the last knot. I'm gonna get a little more of this fun pink twine. I've made a mess over here. Looks like I've been tying up small animals or something. Get that all cleaned up. Now we got some more line out here. Number 3 in the best braid knots is a loop knot. There are times when you might be fishing with bigger braided line, but with an intermediate or smaller size bait, and you want that bait to still have some good action, but you don't want to have to fool with a mega split ring like this right here. You're going to be tying it to a frog maybe, you can be tying it to a spoon if you're fishing inshore, any of that kind of stuff. You can tie a loop knot with braid, and it does great. All you need to do with the loop knot is do one overhand knot, and then you're going to take 2 fingers and kind of hold that loop so it doesn't totally collapse. You're going to go right through the hook eye or the split ring. Then you're going to go right back through that loop that you just made. But the thing is, you're going to go the same direction that the main line is. Then you're going to wrap it 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to go back through that same loop, if I can get it to work, my fingers that is. Get that bad boy to slide in there. Then it's going to cinch down, and that's going to be a nice loop. You can adjust the size of your loop before you cinch it down, but you're going to make a nice good loop there, and as you can see, that loop stays real well. And the reason that the loop knot works especially well on the braided line is because the braid is not going to cut into itself. When you tie that first loop, that's what locks in that loop to keep it going. And again, you're going to have a little bit, you want to have a little tag left over, maybe 1/8 of an inch, somewhere in that range. But that tag end is also going to be pointed down. If you tie your loop knot correctly, that tag end is pointed down, so that's not going to get snagged on any kind of debris or grass or anything like that. But that's the number 3 right there, the loop knot. Loop knot's probably the most underutilized braid knot in my opinion. If you're fishing smaller, medium-sized topwater plugs, I would take any split ring off of the front of a bait, topwater bait. Just take it off. Tie your loop knot right there like that, and that bad boy will have all kind of great action, and you don't have to fool with the split ring, and your lure is going to have even better action than it would have with that split ring on it. So those are my top 3 braided line knots. If you have any other ones that you liked better or you think are simpler to tie, drop them down there in the comments. I want to hear about it. I like sharing information with you guys, and I like to hear from you guys what your tips are, even for me, because I never stop learning, you never stop learning, we never stop learning.